And then her friend came, they went to lunch, and when they came back, she said, let's park in the lower driveway, I want to show you something. So they walked through the house, and Esther pointed at the stumps, and she said, look what I did. And he said, what? And she told him the story. And he looked and he said, Esther, your gardeners didn't cut those trees down while we were at lunch. The hillside isn't disturbed at all. And where's the debris from all the trees? And how could they have possibly done that in that short of period of time? And then they walked out to the edge of the property, and Esther looked back up toward the other house, and there was a very small little trunk up there with all the debris from the tree that they had cut all still laying right there. They'd cut it down, they just didn't haul anything away. And all that had happened is they cut enough away that Esther saw something that she hadn't seen before. But because of the circumstantial evidence, because of the conversation, she wanted her view, she didn't have her view, she communicated, wanted to make sure that she was communicating clearly, and then saw something that seemed entirely different than what she'd meant, which is something that she lives from time to time, a lot. She says to herself, I must use more words, make sure that I'm clear. And we say, just be in alignment and you'll always be clear. So this has been a sort of ongoing conversation, but Esther completely misunderstood the situation. And this is the part that shook her up. There must be all kinds of stupid things that I believe. All kinds of irrational things. How irrational was that? That these great big trees could be completely cleared in the course of a lunch and a little bit of shopping, and completely hauled away, as if a helicopter had come in and just hauled it away when they cut it at its base. When Esther thought about it, she felt foolish. None of that made any sense. But for days she had believed it completely. Our work here is done. How many conclusions do you jump to? How many little pieces of things do you hear? How much do you decide is the way something is just by your brief glimpse into it? How much of what you believe was because somebody that you trusted believed it, and they told it to you often enough that it became the story that you told? You know your point of attraction is something that is under construction all the time. And so you stand with these beliefs, with these perceptions about things. And those perceptions are attracting all kinds of experiences that reflect. Esther's friend said to her, as he was looking at this, you know, Esther, when you told me that that had happened, it just didn't ring true to me, because that didn't seem like something that was in your point of attraction. But understanding perception sure was something that was in her point of attraction. Understanding that things are not always as you believe them to be. So if you think just because right now you don't have a lot of money that you're incapable or unworthy of it, that's circumstantial evidence maybe that you've picked up along your physical trail that is not valid. It doesn't have anything to do with your ability or capacity to attract right here and now, unless you keep that belief active within you. And if it is active within you, then the circumstances of your life keep reflecting it in ways that make it keep seeming true. And sometimes you have the benefit of a really good friend like Esther did, who was willing to stand there with her in her pain and evaluate what she was evaluating and not be influenced by what she decided was true. That's why Jesus and so many like him were able and are able to heal. When you stood before Jesus dripping your illness, he did not see your illness. He did not let you convince him of your lack of well-being. He knew, he was secure in the knowing of who you really are. And in that absolute, non-diluted, non-resisted knowing, he was able to dominate the vibrational frequency that surrounded you so that your illness could not be at the same time of that knowing. As a sort of odd comparison we're going to give you here, but it's like Esther remembers being in a van with a CB radio, and when they drove through this one particular neighborhood, they couldn't transmit to the other vans that were traveling with them because there was a man who lived there that had a big tower on his house, and he was broadcasting with such a powerful frequency that he kept everyone else from being able to talk to each other. That's what Jesus did, just for a moment. He broadcasted with such a powerful frequency that it dominated, and if you were anywhere near the vicinity of that, then you couldn't hold your misunderstanding of things. For just that time of that knowing, that's what influence is, you see. And so we want you to think about the influence that your inner being, that your source energy is broadcasting to you. It's a powerful influence, but over time you've practiced enough erosion of thought, enough misunderstanding of who you are, enough misunderstanding of who others are, enough nitpicking of each other. In your ill-advised, we'll be stronger. Completely misunderstood, we'll be stronger. Ridiculous, in your absolute ridiculous belief that you can control, or that you need to control, and that you can control the conditions or the behaviors of others around you in order for you to live in well-being. You've come to believe in something that defies all of the laws of the universe. You've come to believe in the power of pushing something away, the power of exclusion, when in this universe there is only the power of attraction. There's only the power of inclusion, and what you give your attention to, you include in your vibration. So every time you attempt to right the wrongs of the world by defining the perpetrator of the wrongdoing and pushing against them, all that happens to you is that you practice the activation of a vibration. And you know, when you practice the activation of a vibration, that's what a belief is. A belief is only a thought that you continue to think. So as you practice these thoughts, as you continue to think these thoughts, as you continue to make those vibrations feel normal, and law of attraction helps you too, because once you believe it, law of attraction will show it to you, and show it to you, and show it to you, and show it to you, because you get what you think about whether you want it or not, because law of attraction is responding to your thought. Yeah. You've heard all of that. You've heard of all of that a lot. You've heard of a lot from us and others. But what if you understood today that there is within you a perception, a part of you, a non-physical part of you, who is never dissuaded by circumstantial evidence, who is never believing that controlling conditions is the answer for you, who holds you in knowing of your power and your ability and your goodness? And what if you started deliberately tuning more to that frequency, reaching more for that vibration, so that you're standing in that kind of clarity and knowing? What if you, with a little bit of practice, and it's far less than you would imagine, far less than it takes you to learn a computer program, what if you accomplished vibrational alignment with that perspective? And what if that influence was you? So we're going to open this to talk about whatever you want to talk about, but we just wanted to begin with you thinking a bit about you being under the influence, because you always are under the influence of something. And the question is, are you in the receiving mode and therefore under the influence of who you really are and what you really want and what your inner being really knows? Or are you under the influence of a bunch of circumstantial events that happened randomly through your life, and do you really believe the ridiculous conclusion that you cut those trees down, cut those trees down, cut those trees down, cut